Hello, Arts 121. I am Brian Sessions.
Jaedia Smith.
And Brackston Zeman.
And we are here to talk a little bit about the concert project. We chose First Fridays Baltimore, which is a monthly event that happens on the first Friday of every month from 8 to 11. There's an open mic portion, and then there's features. There's live music, there's food, there's VIP. And it's just a bunch of eclectic music where indie artists come out and perform.
I thoroughly enjoyed the performance because mainly of the energy given by the performers. I've never been to an open mic before, so that was an amazing experience for me. It surpassed any type of expectations I had. For instance, I didn't expect there to be people accompanying some of the performance on the bass, keyboard, or the drums. My favorite parts in particular was the duet with Brian and Talia, as well as a solo performed by Talia.
I would agree. For me, it was Talia's performance that was my favorite. I actually saw her perform that piece on Instagram, and it was an original of hers. And I guess for me, her piece was my favorite because I've been tracking with her story. Like, I know her on a personal level. She worked at one of my summer camps as a music instructor, and during that time, she shared with me a little bit of her story. So when I hear her music, it's like, wow, like I know the background behind that. And she's a great, like, amazing writer. She's an amazing writer. Self-taught as far as the piano, self-taught as far as the guitar. And she has no classical training, and she writes so beautifully. And I think the reason a lot of people connect to it is because she's writing literally from her heart, what feels right. And she allows what feels right to dictate to her if it sounds right, and not necessarily what do people want to hear. And I could be wrong, but that's just what I get from it.
I mean, I thought the most interesting part was the fact that a lot of the pieces were written by the artist, so it really, let you understand them on a deeper level. Coming from a classical music background, it's always you're playing someone else's piece of music and you have to really feel what they're feeling. But when you're watching the artist perform, it's just you can really, the lyrics connect to their movements more because they created it. They have the deeper understanding of what they're really trying to communicate, and so that really plays through. It's sort of less than a dance, but you can see just the movements and the musicians that they're really portraying the words they're singing.
That's good, because I know, like, for me, if I was to try to take and perform Talia's piece, it probably wouldn't have been as good. So that's a good point that you make. So I'll let you guys talk on that because I would love to see, like, your perspective on it.
So I said the performance with you and Talia kind of resembled like a church service's praise and worship. The way the instruments accompanied like Talia as well as the lyrics to the song, where Talia says, "Hallelujah, you have won the victory. Hallelujah, you have won it all for me. Death could not hold you back." I would say the culture or subculture it represented was Western Christian culture, Christianity on a whole. And I think it can be contrasted from the Arabian Gulf traditional music specifically.
Yeah, it definitely seemed to be, leaning towards a, Christian faith, sort of, the content of the songs. And what was interesting is the different cultures. There was hip hop, rap, classical guitar, so many different things. And I think that in its own is the part of the culture of Christian culture, where you can bring in so many different elements and really portray the same emotions and the same things that beliefs, and it's just the wide diversity of content that was presented really speaks to that. I think
I would answer and say that the specific culture would be a Christian culture. I don't know. That's tough. I'm gonna be honest. I can't even answer. I struggle with it too. I can't even answer what the culture or subculture would be. I don't know. Like, so outside of the music, like, what would you guys say that the actual culture, like, so for me, culture consists of clothing? What are some norms that are going on? Like, what would you say that kind of? I would say it's like an artist culture, like an indie artist culture in itself. Because I've been in circles where the music wasn't necessarily Christian music, but some of the same things were going on: food, live band, rap, singing. You understand what I'm saying? So how would you guys?
Probably art in general, because it was a form of expression on like different levels, life. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I've been to recently in the past month, one of my friends was holding a similar open mic night for his fundraising for their youth group, and it was a very similar, where there was from poetry, just people, reciting poems, to R&B, to different classical songs, but all the stuff was written by the people themselves, and that was really, I feel like a culture in itself almost, in the fact that you have these the new age of I guess Christian music is that it's individual. It's not necessarily that you're going into a church and singing the same exact songs that have been sang over and over, but it's the fact that every person, every artist brings their own individual lyrics to the table.
The Khaliji music, which consists of sea folk poetry, song, and dance. Christian music or gospel can be based on like the history of Christ, difficult trials in life, and conquering them through strength or prayer, etc.
I think you bring up an interesting point about how it's kind of like a melting pot for different genres, but yet the culture was the same. So the culture might be Christian or gospel, but as far as the genres, there was different elements present. For me, and this is always a great debate, like, is it considered Christian music or gospel music? I personally think if the message of the gospel of Jesus Christ is not being proclaimed in the lyrics, then it's not gospel music. But now they have a genre called gospel music, where if you're just singing about God as opposed to the specific message of Christ, which is basically where God is holy, perfect, created as we're sinners, and in order to get into heaven, we need to be forgiven. But because we're sinners, we can't be forgiven. We can't work our way into heaven. We need a perfect sacrifice, who is Christ, who died for us, gave us his righteousness. Now, like, if the song is, for me, if the song is not proclaiming that message or that good news, which gospel is translated to good news, then it's not considered gospel music. It may be considered Christian music, but that's a great debate.
I think some of the people performing use music as a form of spiritual healing of some sort and a way to tell their story, or just perform because music is their passion. For instance, I recall Talia performing her solo. She mentioned, covered in dysfunction, left with barely nothing, but you still call my name. Am I hearing the right thing? Are you sure that you want me? Have you not seen my state? Suicide on my mind and I can't take it. Depression on my back and I can't shake it. To me, she sang of this instance or instances of her life where she was at her lowest, but in the end she managed to overcome and conquer her low, and I guess reclaim or achieve peace. I found this particular performance to be admirable.
Okay, so what I saw was that everyone was using it for, to communicate and express their emotions, but it seemed like a release of emotions and stuff that everyone in the audience was able to then soak up, and it wasn't just a performance of a piece that, you get, you feel the music, the words in it are really communicating a deeper meaning, and that is, it's not like in any ordinary concert where you can just go and, close your eyes and your mind and just sit there and, let it, feel the vibrations. It's really something that the words mean just as much as the vibrations that all the instruments are giving off. And so that really is you're communicating on a deeper level when you have songs and lyrics with this, deeper content.
Yeah, I would definitely agree that the artists, whether they were open mic artists who happened to sign up or features, were definitely there to express themselves. And I think it's kind of multi-layered, because a lot of the artists are there to kind of like make a name for themselves in the artist world, to kind of whether it's to get more performances or to get to a point where they can eventually be consistently paid for what they do. Some of the artists were there. They would even say that they are there for ministry, like so that I can spread the gospel, so that I can tell people about Jesus through this art form. And one of the great things about music is that, so for example, whether it was somebody singing in a language I don't know how to speak, if they sound beautiful or if they're good at what they do, I'm gonna stop and listen. And I think a lot of artists use music because people stop and listen. It's an attention grabber, and the message that they have prepared on their lips is what they're trying to convey to people. And I think the audience is there because my mom tells me a lot that that's the day where she can come and just relax and enjoy the music. We hope you enjoyed yourself from listening to our podcast about our experience from First Fridays Baltimore. If you have time, come check us out.
What's going on, y'all? Brian Sessions, host of First Fridays Baltimore. I need y'all, if you missed this First Friday, which is still going on, you have to make the next month. You have to. 8501 Franklin Square Drive, right across from Franklin Square Hospital. 8 to 11 o'clock p.m. Doors open at 7:30. We got VIP